What would it be like to be an athlete and coach? You know, somebody who's heavily involved in their own athletic pursuits, but simultaneously is helping others to achieve. Well, that's exactly what I have in store for you today. I've got this great guest. Actually, no, scratch that. I've got this exceptional guest, and his name is Simon Cochrane, and you're gonna learn all about why he fits into this category of excellence in just a moment. But rest assured, this conversation today, you're gonna get this inside scoop in terms of running an enterprise, running a small business that's based around helping others to achieve within the fitness category. Now, getting back to Simon himself, he has this exceptional background when it comes to endurance sports. He's involved in things like triathlons, marathons, ultramarathons. In fact, he is the world record holder, you got that right, world record holder for Ultraman Triathlons. Yeah, this is no joke. So in terms of today's conversation, the words that you're going to be hearing, the advice you're going to be getting, the insights that you're going to be attaining do carry a lot of weight. In this conversation, we will be covering things like client relationships. We're going to dive into the world of technology, wearable technology, you know, Simon's stance on that, plus a lot more. So in terms of this conversation, I think there's a lot to unpack here and I'm eager to get into it all. But before we do, I would absolutely love this like or subscribe. All right, well, that's out of the way. I think it's time to jump into things. So why don't we? All right, well, to get things kickstarted, I do have a clip here of Simon explaining a little bit more about his company and what they do. So listen in.
In terms of Athletic Peak, the company that you run based around endurance sports training and coaching, maybe you could share with listeners a little bit more about that.
Yes, I've been coaching for around 15 years now, and just in the last couple of years, I've really stepped it up to my full-time job. So I'm coaching a range of athletes, anyone from beginner runners right through to multi-day world championship style events. And I like to create the community here, not only here, but online as well. So all the athletes are supporting each other along the way, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah. And you're still quite active yourself in terms of competition and whatnot. Again, I mentioned off the top here,
Fairly,
not too long ago, I mean, a world record in ultramarathon triathlons, right?
yeah, I'd like to say I'm fairly active. The last
Yeah.
couple of years has been the biggest couple of years of competing and also the training side of things for me. So it's been a busy couple of years with work and life and my own athletic pursuits.
Well, I hope that last clip kind of gives you some context for, you know, what Simon's up to right now, and then also, you know, what drives him personally and what are some of his active pursuits. Well, this kind of segues into my next clip that I want to present to you, which is on this notion of being an active athlete yourself, whilst also helping coaching others. Now, whether you're a world-class athlete or not, or if you're just somebody who's based within the fitness world and you're keen to learn a little bit more about getting into the coaching space, I think this clip will be useful to you. So check it out.
With you still so active in the sport, I'm guessing that rub off there helps the people that you're coaching tremendously, because what you're uncovering for yourself in your own training habits and what you're picking up, tips, whatever it might be, or new approaches or the latest science on this or that, you're able to share that with your clients. Would that be a correct assumption, or?
Yeah, definitely. I'd hope so. And also, yeah, provide some real world guidance during sessions, training camps, that sort of thing. And then, yeah, obviously I'm doing a lot of experimental work with my own training. I'm coaching myself at the moment as well, because I love, yeah, working out new strategies and theories, putting them to the test, and then being able to, yeah, cross that info over to the athletes and the prescription of their training schedules.
You know, I've got to say, one of my favorite segments on Life As A is a day in the life. I think it's always interesting to kind of step into somebody else's world. Now, in this episode, in covering Simon, I found it really, really quite insightful. You know, for one, Simon, again, is this world-class athlete, so that unto itself is interesting. Plus, you have the business side where he's managing client relationships and building the business into his daily training. And then on top of all of that, you have the family and personal life. So here's a clip of Simon explaining how he kind of structures and brings all of that together to make it work for himself.
Yeah, so every day is a little bit different, but I mean, I guess they're all structured fairly similar. First thing is early wake up. So it's generally around 4:40 a.m. The alarm goes off. Be up, have black coffee, and off to the pool. So that's for a 90 minutes to 2 hour swim squad session. And getting in early enough to make sure I'm home for breakfast with the kids and the family.
Mm-hmm.
Doing all the breakfast and preschool
I
work
hear
to
you.
get the kids out the house.
Yeah.
And then usually it will be a couple of hours of work, checking the emails, follow-ups on some programs and that sort of thing. And then jumping into a pretty solid training session again before lunch. And then usually another little block of work after lunch, just while the food's digesting. And then quite often there'll be a third training session, and then school pickup. And if there's school sports or swimming lessons, that will be in the afternoon. So I like to get all my training done before school and daycare is finished for the day. So then in the afternoon, we've got, family time,
Yeah.
dinner time. And then quite often after dinner, there'll be, a little bit more of work or sometimes some Zoom call catch ups in the evening. But I just like to try and keep that to two or so days a week,
Yeah.
in the evenings.
Okay.
And then the weekends, depending on how the week's gone, it depends what events I've got coming up, whether it's shorter sessions or sometimes it's the full day missions every few weeks.
Okay. I mean, a couple of questions here. I mean, to what degree are you altering those schedules? I mean, obviously life gets in the way and there's certain things that come up, but I mean, are you constantly tweaking that to make it work for you, or is this something that you've had set in stone for like several years now?
I'd say it's set in stone, but it's flexible. So because I'm coaching myself, I can adjust the program pretty easily. If something pops up, I can shuffle things around if need be. So I think that's a benefit for me at this stage of my training and life, so I can make things flow on a bit easier.
On the heels of that last clip where I started off by saying one of my favorite things to cover is this notion of a day in the life, well, I have this other segment here too. It's called Pathways, where this one explains, how people made their way into the work that they're ultimately doing. And in Simon's case, I was really quite keen to kind of dive into how he made his way into the personal fitness space, and then more specifically within this hyper specialization of endurance sports. Like, how did that all come about? So here's a clip of Simon kind of laying that out for us.
Yeah, so early on, I was a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach in the gym, really interested in anatomy, physiology, and I guess performance and the strength side of the training. So having a good background and understanding of the body definitely has helped along the way with programming and periodization and recovery. And then, I think I was just drawn towards the endurance events once I had done a couple myself and saw a few opportunities in different ways to approach training, that I thought, could be a benefit. Especially, I think, finding more efficient ways of doing similar sessions, just for people with busy lives and who want to get the most out of themselves.
Yeah.
That's
In terms
probably.
of your youth, when you were a child, I mean, were you always drawn towards sport and athletics? I'm guessing that was probably a big part of your upbringing.
I mean, I didn't do my first triathlon sort of endurance event until I was 24, so
Oh,
quite a late adapter there, really. But when I was younger, I played every sport from soccer, rugby, rock climbing, motocross, kickboxing, a full range of sports. But I think I was drawn towards the individual sports because I was disappointed with the teams I was in when other players weren't putting in the same amount of effort, and that affects the result. Whereas this endurance running, triathlon, that sort of thing, it's you and you. So if you haven't put the work in, you won't get the results.
All right, well, moving along, I kind of want to dive into the weeds momentarily here and look at this, coach-client relationship. How do you go about calibrating your own expectations as a coach when you yourself, this is what your client needs to be doing to achieve X, Y, and Z? But how do you do that? How do you manage those emotions? How do you manage those expectations? So here's a clip of Simon kind of breaking that down for us.
The way you're wired, like you're maybe interpreting the world one way, where like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need these 15, 20 hours a week to achieve this by this time. And maybe somebody you're working with, they want all these things and they understand it, but they, like I said, the intensity is tough to match, or does that ever become an issue for you? Or is that something that you're able to calibrate and adjust
Yeah,
for?
I think I'm able to calibrate that and just understand what I guess their mindset's like, what their life is like as well,
Yeah.
and just understanding what their situation is. As long as they're putting in 100% effort to the time frames that they've got, then I'm happy that they're doing all they can at the moment.
Yeah.
And I guess the only training you're going to benefit from is the training you can recover from. So even if someone's got 20 hours a week, if they're training hard for 20 hours a week, but they're smashed and their work productivity or their life or their family life isn't good, then, we have to dial it back to get the balance right and then to make sure everything's running smoothly.
Now, I'd like to squeeze in one last clip here, and this one's relating to this notion of technology. Wearable technology, it's all around us these days, and it seems to be the fad. Like, you have to have this stuff integrated into your training. Otherwise, you're going to be missing out. At least that is the expectation, or that might be the common assumption. So this next clip kind of looks at this from a different perspective, and I've got to say, it kind of surprised me a little bit. But after listening to Simon, it made complete sense. So have a listen.
Yeah, I think there is a time and a place for technology. But as I say, I think the longer events that you go, like say it's a multi-day run, it doesn't matter what the numbers are saying. If you're 24 hours into a 48-hour run, if your watch is telling you that you're tired or you're sore or your lactic acid levels are too high or whatever it's saying, it doesn't matter for the race day. But I think using it in the training application is good, so you can monitor recovery, obviously power, pace, those sorts of things. And then it comes down to the individual. Are they really interested in it and do they benefit from it? Or is it a negative thing? And if it's negative towards their mindset or the way they're recovering or feeling, then yeah, I wouldn't be advising as much.
Okay, well, it's probably about time to draw this video to a close, but as always, I do encourage you to check out the full-length audio version. There are several other topics that we get into, for example, sports psychology and the degree to which Simon's integrating that within his training, and also things like his holistic approach to working with clients to ensure that they're getting the best possible results. And I gotta say, he does throw in a few great stories. One about him breaking the world record for Ultraman Triathlons, and another relating to this other event that was actually more physically demanding and harder for him. So I'm gonna leave that there for you. You're just gonna have to listen to the audio version to get that. And you can find this wherever you access your podcast. Just do that search for Life as a ... All right, well, I do have one more request here. I would absolutely love that like or subscribe. It's the best way to let this algorithm know that the content matters. Anyways, I will have another video, another profession covered, coming right at you next week, so don't miss it.